sensational development, it has come to light that the Election Commission was calling for the early elections of the local levels, riding on Article 4 of the Election Act, which had already become dysfunctional. It is highly surprising to note that the debacle had not come into the notice of the ruling alliance, which was facing significant pressure from the Election Commission and the opposition alike to announce the election date. Good morning, I'm Obide Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Inoculation drive against COVID-19 marks 1 year in Nepal. Government facing race against time to meet its target of inoculating all citizens by mid-April this year. Serious error emerges in the Election Commission's call for holding elections by mid-May, as the law pointed out by the Commission, according to analysts, has already become dysfunctional. Russian President Vladimir Putin says the United States and NATO have not addressed Moscow's main security demands in their standoff over Ukraine, says Russia is ready to keep talking. And stage all set for Nepal versus Mauritius friendly to be played today at the Dasrat Stadium. Both camps upbeat ahead of the encounter. The inoculation drive against COVID-19 has marked 1 year in Nepal. Despite a few achievements of the government during this period, many citizens are yet to receive vaccines. More than 42 million doses of vaccines against coronavirus have arrived in Nepal so far. According to government data, over 30 million doses of vaccines have been administered in the first year of the inoculation drive. Considering the data, 54.2% of the population have received the single dose of the vaccine, while 45.5% have received 2 doses. Meanwhile, 12.5 million people are yet to receive any doses of the vaccines. Despite the government claim of inoculating the entire population by mid-April this year, experts say that the target will not be achieved at the current pace. In the meantime, the government has begun administering the booster dose to frontline workers and senior citizens. However, it must also ensure vaccines for those who are yet to receive the first dose. The alarming surge of coronavirus saw some drop yesterday, as 4,807 new cases were confirmed through RT-PCR tests, while 5,432 were discharged after recovery. With 10 more fatalities, the COVID-19 death tally has reached 11,697 in Nepal. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, the active number of cases stands at 89,941, while the recovery rate is 89.2%. With almost 90,000 individuals at home isolation, another 1,857 are at institutional isolation. A total of 256 patients are undergoing treatment at intensive care units, while 45 are on ventilator support. The hotel and tourism industry has yet again been severely affected in the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic. The sector, which was gradually reviving after the first and second waves, has yet again been suffering the brunt in the third wave. Hotel entrepreneurs have shared their grievances as they seem unhappy at the government directive for antigen tests of guests within 24 hours of arrival and informing the District COVID Crisis Management Committee within 72 hours. In a directive to all district administration offices, the Office of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers has ordered for implementing 8 health and safety guidelines at hotels and restaurants. These guidelines include entry only for service seekers inoculated with full doses of vaccines against coronavirus. Despite the assurance of hotels and restaurants in following all health and safety guidelines, they are wearing a deserted look with the alarming surge in coronavirus. As per the government directive, hotel operators are prepared to submit the report of antigen tests of their guests within 24 hours. However, they have demanded the government for antigen tests from the government itself. Big and star-rated hotels have also run out of guests with the advent of the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic. Except for the previously scheduled weddings, hotels do not have other bookings, while restaurants are seen empty throughout the day. Operators of hotels and restaurants have said that the guidelines issued by the government in the hospitality industry are not practical. The hospitality industry has been suffering for more than 2 years. While ensuring the implementation of the health and safety guidelines, the government must also ensure a conducive environment for the operation of businesses. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the residents of several provinces why they think the health and safety guidelines have not been implemented despite the alarming risks of coronavirus. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
इच्छा शक्ति हुनु पर्यो सम्बन्धित निकायहरुको
अर्काको लागि हो भने जसो गर्छ
चेतनाकै अभावको कारणले
मास्ककै कुरा गर्दा चाहिँ कान दुख्ने हुने अलि लामो समय लाउँदा सास फेर्न गाह्रोहरू हुने चाहिँ हुन्छ
आफूमा पनि सचेतता छैन
जरिवाना गर्ने र अलिकन चाहिने डर देखाउने खालको केही अभ्यास भयो भने पनि त्यो चाहिँ केही न्यूनीकरण हुन्थ्यो
प्रयासहरू एउटा सैद्धान्तिक रूपमा मात्र सीमित भयो
नियमनकारी संस्थाले चाहिँ अलि राम्रोसँग कडाइको साथमा लागू गर्यो भने यो सक्सेस हुन्छ
सिरियस रूपमा नलिएको जस्तो देखिन्छ अहिले
पढाइ नगरिकन यो होला जस्तो लाग्दैन
The ruling coalition is basing constitutional provisions as its reasons to delay the local elections. Despite the recommendation of the Election Commission on holding polls before mid-May, the ruling and opposition parties remain polarized. While the ruling coalition has begun efforts to amend the laws, citing contrasting provisions in the Constitution and the Act, error has been found in the Election Commission's argument for holding polls by mid-May based on the laws implemented for the previous polls. While drawing the attention of the government for the fourth time for declaring the election dates, the Election Commission has cited provisions of Article 4 of the Local Election Act 2017. The Commission, which has been insisting on holding elections 2 months before the end of the term of the elected public representatives, has said that Article 4 of the Act has to be followed for the first election since its implementation. For this very reason, Constitution experts have opined that Article 4 of the Act has already become dysfunctional. The ruling parties have been alleging the Apex Election Authority of proposing election dates without holding any consultations. Despite the widening rift between the government and the Election Commission due to the contrasting opinion on local elections, efforts have already begun for the amendment of the laws. Officials at the Ministry of Law have held consultations with the Election Commission. The Commission, during the term of the previous KP Sharma Oli administration, had proposed for revising the law as per the Constitution. However, the proposal was rejected by the then Council of Ministers. While the political interests of the ruling coalition is evident with their aspiration of delaying the polls, analysts maintain that the role of the Election Commission, which should have acted without prejudice, has been mired into controversies. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. And here's the question. Why has the country's dependency on food grain increased despite the government grant on agriculture loan? Your options are A, only influential having access to loan, B, lapses in working procedures, and C, lack of monitoring. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Nepal are to play African nation Mauritius today in the first of the 2 international friendly football matches. The match, to be played at the capital's Dasrat Stadium, will kick off at 4:45 p.m. Speaking ahead of the international friendly, Nepal captain and custodian Kiran Chemjong said that Nepal's first match against an African nation will be a new experience. He further added that the players were mentally and physically prepared and fit for the clash. Mauritius head coach Tony Francois said that his team had assessed the performance of Nepal at the SAF Championship held in the Maldives. Head coach Francois termed Nepal as a strong team, stating that it would not be an easy outing for Mauritius.
It's our first experience for us to come here, and we hope we can get a very good match, 2 good matches during these two days. But Nepal is a very good team, and we just, as Mauritian football, we don't play national matches since two and a half years.
Adopting COVID-19 precautionary measures, only 5,000 spectators, which is 1/3 of the capacity, will be allowed at the Dasrat Stadium for today's match. Spectators entering the stadium will have to mandatorily present their vaccination cards. All Nepal Football Association has also informed that antigen tests are also available at the stadium. Today's match between Nepal and Mauritius will be broadcast live on Kantipur television. Armed Police Force coach Kumar Thapa has claimed that his team will win this edition of the Aha Rara Gold Cup underway in Pokhara. APF are to take on the most successful team of the tournament, Manang Marshangdi Club, in the grand finale this afternoon. The match, which will be played at the Pokhara Stadium, is scheduled for a 2 p.m. kickoff. Addressing the pre-match press conference yesterday, Coach Thapa appreciated A-Division opponents Manang Marshangdi's success. Sharing his satisfaction with the performance of his players, Coach Thapa claimed that APF would produce good football in the final. Likewise, Manang Marshangdi coach Fuja Top said that his team was aware of the improved performance of the APF side. The departmental team had progressed to the final of the tournament for the first time in 14 years after stunning domestic top-flight leaders Machindra Club 3-1. Manang had secured a 4-3 win in a tiebreaker over Tribhuvan Army Club in the semi-finals. Manang Marshangdi have won the Aha Rara Gold Cup for a record 6 times. Manang Marshangdi Club and APF have clashed against each other in the Aha Rara Gold Cup on 5 occasions, in which Manang have been victorious 4 times and APF have won once. The winners of the tournament are to receive 1,001,000 rupees, while the runners-up are to walk away with 501,000 rupees. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.